This is the Eternal everyone is stoked for, right? Right? No? Oh well. So, the release of Doom Eternal is nigh. After blueballing its community back in November, its new release date appears set in stone, and all you Doomers out there will be jibbing Fleshy Hellspawn and Cyborg Angels or whatever. I won't be. Not knocking the game itself or anything, I have been looking forward to its latest installment to the Doom series, but rather, I am very stingy and incredibly patient. All that YouTube scratch has yet to pour in, and as such, I'll be waiting until the game has a more reasonable price tag attached to it. Indeed, I haven't paid full price for a game in almost a decade, and even the last one I did was only because I got another game for free. However, I would be remiss were I not to say I was given momentary pause upon learning of Doom Eternal's pre-order offerings. Not these, I care not about any of this dross. That's the one. Doom 64. Hailing from a lost age of gaming, this undervalued gem has risen. It's returned 22 years in the making, to grace the modern world of gaming. Now, if you're a returning viewer, this is probably where you expect a quip of cynicism before I reel on a 2 decades old game and how it's not worth an install. Well, not exactly this time, although there's still much cynicism to be had here. For now, I'll say Doom 64 is a solid experience. If id wants to bring it back, have at it. No one's going to complain. I do have one gripe that's bothering me. Don't I always? Yeah, I'll hold off on that for now. The crux of this video is that I find Doom 64's very being perplexing. Why now, and why with Doom Eternal? In comparison to the rest of the franchise, Doom 64 is a bit of an oddball. It's closer to Doom 3 than anything else in a few fundamental ways. Its very gameplay, while certainly in keeping with the rest of the series, is more methodic and measured in Midway's contribution to the Doom line, who also worked in a foreboding, horror-esque ambiance and tone. In short, Doom 64 is kind of its own thing, making its tacking onto Eternal pretty strange, seemingly only existing to help drive in more pre-orders, at least from a cursory glance. The exploitation of nostalgia is nothing new. It's been almost a decade, possibly more, since the first nostalgia-filled pitch was made to garner attention or money, to which people and companies are still exercising that power in some form or another. That said, Doom 64 was fairly niche, and even before it, the Doom series never exactly broke the console market once it made its own way onto the platforms. The various console ports were always lacking, to say the least, in one way or another, be it kind of floppy controls or, worst case, even lacking the music. When we finally get to Doom 64, with its starkly colorful yet sprightly graphics, it ended up being overshadowed by the newer, shinier, if blockier, polygonal 3D games, which were all galvanizing most of the limelight. Also, I feel that the game's style was such that, at the time, I can see many having foregone the game without giving it a chance to impress. Needless to say, I'd be surprised if there was a lot of high demand for Doom 64. With its hypement and flag-waving of a game from a bygone era, it itself has somewhat made it seem that this is a bit of a cynical grab. All the more so as if you do happen to take a gander in its own time capsule of a treasure box, you'll find that there's actually not anything else in there. Commander Keen has already gotten a polishing, and Quake would require an investment similar to that of Doom 2016 to get any worthwhile attention. And I don't even think they know where to start with that, as the Quake games have something of an identity crisis. Every installment is something different. So that just leaves Doom 64 as the only readily exploitable blast from the past it has to flex. So I hope you understand why I reserve some measure of cynicism for all of this. Not that I'm discrediting Night Dive's work right off the bat, mind you. Its offerings tend to be quality products. Night Dive is adding to the experience, with the addition of a bonus chapter of sorts. Now, 64 didn't divvy up its levels based on episodes or anything. The closest it had was a change in thematics every 7 or 8 levels or so. Thusly, it's a bit hard to guess how much this bonus chapter is going to add on. I honestly was expecting a bit more, like a graphics update. Nothing major, I want the sprites, but if they did what the upscalers have been doing for the likes of the other Doom Engine games, I'd pre-order this in a heartbeat, or buy it separately at least. It doesn't even look like the port's gonna have the decent Z-Doom scaling, but something closer to FXAA. It also doesn't look like it has Y-axis camera movement. Which doesn't need it, mind you, but I can see a lot of modern gamers having an issue with that if this is indeed the case. Perhaps what's most majorly devaluing a Doom 64 re-release in my eyes is that there exist other ways to enjoy it. Doom Absolute and Total Conversion, or even Doom 64 Brutal if you're so inclined, are available to any who feel an itch to play the original N64 title. They're not one-to-one recreations of the original, especially the latter, yet they're damn close, and honestly, the re-release isn't going to be either. Will it be closer? Certainly so, but if that is important to you, there's even an option for that. Doom 64 EX is as near as a recreation of the original N64 title as there can be on modern systems. It does require an original Doom 64 ROM to run, which, I assure you dear viewers, I've acquired through the most legitimate, the most legal, and above all else most morally righteous of ways possible. Look, the point is, they're attempting to sell a package that has already existed in some form for a while now. Not in an official capacity, I realize, and there is a convenience factor to consider, but for someone such as myself, what it's all going to come down to is how much worth this bonus chapter has to offer, which is why I wish they were being a little less mum about it than they are now. My educated hypothesis is that this re-release, or the bonus chapter at any rate, is going to be a bit more heavy on the narrative, an attempt to cleanly intertwine the plots of the newer Doom titles with this older one, which now has Doom Guy fighting angels, it seems. Well, robot angels. This almost seems to be a trope nowadays in its own right, giving those of the Imperial plane an artificial aesthetic or theme. Regardless, I find this all kind of funny. It seems like everything has finally come full circle. There's been talk over the years, even back in old IRC chats concerning Doom, and if there's ever going to be a heaven-hell war motive going on here. Heck, I think going so far back as to speculation for Doom 2. These tended to devolve into bickering, but now it's a canonical thing. I don't really have any thoughts or musings on this or the new Doom story at large, but it does seem like this thing,
for millennia we have survived,
which sounds an awful lot like StarCraft 2's Zagara for some reason,
give me a turgid wet hatchery,
wants to hate bone this guy. Not 100% certain, more like 75-80, but there's a few tells one can pick up on.
made others sacrifice in the name of our prosperity. Who are you, a human, to defy our traditions?
The general frustration, the pissy undertones, and the denigrating superiority complex she has. She wants something, and she can't have what she wants, so we'll see what comes from all this. I don't see Doom 64 as a shameless cash grab for pre-orders if that's where you think I'm leaning. Maybe the other bonuses, probably, but I have no care for them, so I really can't say. If it is indeed one, and id or Bethesda or whoever honestly decided to dust this game off, thinking they could bilk their audience for a few more dollars, well then they'd be better served making a time machine to try and release a few more games in the past remake, because I don't see the gamer masses as rushing out of the woodwork to pre-order Eternal just for Doom 64. It is being sold separately, so it is a bit of a treat to get it for free. However, it's only $5 on its own. It's not like they're necessarily giving of themselves. As for the re-release, again, they could be doing more for it. I realize this isn't being touted as a remastering or the like, but it is a 22-year-old game. One can be forgiven expecting a little more than just being able to play it again, which they already can now, at least on PC. It is more than a ROM dump, I should stress. Night Dive is brushing it up. Widescreen support, even going so far as to remove the frame cap, but this is where my actual gripe stems from. Were they to give Doom 64 the works, do a proper upscaling and touch-up and then sell it for $20, which is what seems to be all the rage right now with older titles, and more in line with what Night Dive are known for and have done already, I'd easily get it. But they're not. Which leads me to think that whoever had the final say on this matter either don't have much of a vested interest in Doom 64, or don't believe it worth anything more than a tepid re-release. It shows that the powers that be don't have any real confidence in Doom 64, which is what truly irks me about its re-release. And it's all the weirder that they're trying to leverage something that already exists on an audience likely only a fraction of which will care about, while attaching it to another product it's only tangentially related to. What logic force is at play here? Now, this is the only way to enjoy Doom 64 on consoles, so there is that. It's not like there's a real choice there. And again, there is the bonus chapter, so it's not as if there's no inherent value. It's just how much worth that value has is yet to be determined. This is just also strange and a little disappointing, but oh well. Such is life sometimes. Thank you for watching and hope you enjoyed my ramblings. I have a follow-up video planned on my one on Reforged. Was just gonna put a disclaimer up and leave it be, but kind of found something out that makes me a little nauseous and vastly reconsidering my views on that game and another company I feel I should probably address. So tune back in if interested. Take care now.